In the world of true crime, some stories are so unsettling that they seem almost too strange to be true. Imagine a man checking into a hotel only to meet a brutal and mysterious end. This is the story of Roland T. Owen, whose final hours remain a chilling enigma. His death is a stark reminder that some mysteries never get solved, and the darkness of human nature can sometimes be truly terrifying. Welcome to today's true crime story, where we delve into one of the most perplexing and eerie cases from the 1930s. The death of Roland T. Owen remains an unsettling puzzle even decades later, with twists and turns that leave us questioning the truth. On January 2nd, 1935, a man identifying himself as Roland T. Owen checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City. The bellboy, Randolph Probst, assisted Owen to room 1046. Owen appeared to be between 20 and 35 years old, with brown hair, a noticeable scar on his scalp, and a cauliflower ear. He was dressed neatly in a black coat and carried only a brush, comb, and toothpaste. The maid, Mary Soptic, was one of the first to notice something peculiar about Owen. She was allowed to clean the room while he remained inside, but was instructed not to lock the door because Owen was expecting a visitor. The room was dimly lit, with the shades tightly drawn. Soptic sensed that Owen was either worried or afraid, a feeling that would only intensify as the story unfolds. Later that day, around 4 p.m., Soptic returned to the room with fresh towels. She had been making her rounds, ensuring each guest had everything they needed for a comfortable stay. She found Owen lying fully dressed in the dark, with the door unlocked. The room was eerily quiet, and the only light came from the hallway, casting long shadows across the floor. A note left on the bed read, "Dawn, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait." The handwriting was hurried, almost as if written in a rush. This strange note only deepened the mystery. Who was Don? And why was Owen waiting for him? The questions swirled in Soptic's mind. Why would Owen need to leave a message for someone named Don? And why the secrecy? The situation was becoming more perplexing with each passing moment. The following day, January 3rd, Soptic came back at 10:30 a.m. to find the door locked from the outside. This was unusual, as guests typically locked the door from the inside. Inside, Owen was again in the dark, despite the door having been locked. He seemed to be in the same position as the previous day, adding to the growing sense of unease. During her visit, Owen received a phone call and declined an offer to eat, saying he wasn't hungry. His voice was low and tense, as if he was trying to hide something. Soptic, feeling uneasy, left the room, but not before noting that Owen seemed disturbed. His behavior was becoming increasingly erratic, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As she walked down the hallway, Soptic couldn't help but wonder what was really going on in room 1046. The mystery was far from over, and she had a feeling that the answers were just out of reach. The events of the past 2 days had left her with more questions than answers, and the sense of dread was growing stronger with each passing hour. Around 4 p.m. that same day, Soptic heard 2 male voices coming from Owen's room. When she knocked and announced she had fresh towels, a gruff voice responded, "We don't need any," even though no towels had been left in the room. This strange response was just one of many unsettling moments. The night of January 3rd was marked by loud noises of male and female cursing from the floor. Thought there was apparently a party going on that night in room 1055. By January 4th, the hotel phone operator noticed Owen's phone had been off the hook for a while. The bellboy, Probst, was sent to investigate, but found the door locked and no one responding to his calls. He knocked several times, each knock growing more urgent, but the silence from within the room was deafening. Probst's concern grew as he stood there, unsure of what to do next. An hour later, Harold Pike, another bellboy, used a pass key to enter the room. He had been informed of the situation and decided to take matters into his own hands. With a sense of trepidation, he cautiously opened the door, not knowing what to expect. Inside, he saw Owen in bed, naked and seemingly drunk, with dark stains on the bedding. The sight was unsettling, but Pike assumed Owen had simply had too much to drink the night before. The dark stains, however, left him with a nagging feeling of unease. Pike fixed the phone and left the room, assuming Owen was just intoxicated. He adjusted the phone on the nightstand, making sure it was properly connected, and then quietly exited the room, hoping that Owen would sleep off whatever had happened. By 10:30 a.m., the phone was off the hook again. This time the situation seemed more urgent. The repeated disconnection of the phone was unusual and concerning. Probst returned to the room and made a horrifying discovery. His heart raced as he approached the door, fearing the worst. With a deep breath, he opened the door and stepped inside. Owen was found on his knees and elbows with his head in his hands. The position was one of utter distress, and it was clear that something terrible had happened. Blood covered the walls, bed, and even the ceiling. The room was a gruesome scene, with blood splatters painting a horrifying picture of violence and despair. Probst immediately fled the scene, terrified and shocked. His mind raced as he ran, unable to comprehend the horror he had just witnessed. The image of the blood-soaked room and Owen's distressing position would haunt him for a long time. Owen was discovered to have suffered extensive injuries. He had been tied up with cords around his neck, wrists, and ankles, and appeared to have been tortured. His skull was fractured, and he had multiple stab wounds. Despite these brutal injuries, Owen was still alive but unconscious when he was taken to the hospital. When questioned by detectives, Owen, barely conscious, claimed there had been nobody else in the room. He offered a nonsensical explanation for his injuries, saying he had fallen against the bathtub. His account was clearly inconsistent with the evidence. However, his story didn't add up, and he passed away in the hospital a few hours later. Owen's real identity was soon uncovered. He was actually Artemus Ogletree, a 17-year-old from Birmingham who had left his home in 1934. The name Roland T. Owen had been an alias. His mother, Ruby Ogletree, received letters from her son after his death, but these letters were typed, and Artemus didn't know how to type. This detail further fueled suspicions about who might have been behind the facade. In the aftermath, there were several intriguing developments. An anonymous donor paid for Ogletree's funeral, which was initially set to be a pauper's grave. Flowers were sent with a card reading, "Love forever, Louise," but no one knew who Louise was. Theories about the identity of Don and his connection to Ogletree began to circulate. The mystery surrounding the case drew the attention of amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike, each trying to piece together the puzzle. Who was Louise, and what was her connection to the victim? Some believe she might have been a key figure in Ogletree's life, possibly a lover or a confidant. Her mysterious presence adds another layer to the enigma. Why was Ogletree's real identity concealed? Was he hiding from someone, or was there a more sinister reason behind the secrecy? Theories range from witness protection to involvement in criminal activities. And who was Don, the elusive figure referenced by Owen? Theories abound. Some suggest he was a friend or an associate, while others believe he might have been an alias used by Ogletree himself. Some suggest that Don acted alone in the brutal murder, driven by motives unknown to the public. The lack of clear evidence leaves much to speculation, while others speculate that Don might have had accomplices. Could there have been a larger conspiracy at play involving multiple individuals with a shared interest in Ogletree's demise? Witnesses, like the elevator operator Charles Blocker, reported seeing a commercial woman seeking a room, adding another layer of intrigue to the case, potentially connected to the case. This woman's presence raises questions about her role and whether she was involved in the events leading to Ogletree's death. Could this woman and another man have been involved in Ogletree's death? The possibility of a love triangle or a secret affair adds a dramatic twist to the narrative. A more sensational theory posits a motive rooted in jealousy and infidelity. Was Ogletree caught in a web of romantic entanglements that led to his untimely end? According to this theory, Ogletree was murdered as retribution for wronging a fiancée. The emotions of love and betrayal often lead to tragic outcomes. The anonymous callers claim that Ogletree had a little meeting in room 1046 with a jilted lover adds weight to this theory, suggesting a crime driven by personal vendetta. The layers of mystery and the various theories make the case of Ogletree's death a captivating and enduring enigma. Was he a victim of a violent crime driven by personal conflict, or was there a more sinister reason behind his death? The truth remains buried in the shadows of room 1046, leaving us with a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors. Despite extensive investigations and numerous theories, the case remains unsolved.